Hi, and welcome to Screens in Focus podcast, where we share and connect as we spotlight our favorite shows and movies. I'm Diana, and today we are talking about The Walking Dead Dead City premiere and Fear the Walking Dead mid-season finale. Today we have a special guest co-host joining us, Renee from Undead Walking and co-host of Beauty and The Beazts podcast. Hi, Renee. How are you?
I am so good. How are you?
I'm great. I am so thrilled to have you here. Before we jump into our conversation, I like to start off with a question of the day. Now, we saw on Dead City, Maggie and Negan face some crazy walkers, but they also, and villains, but they also face some cockroaches and rats. So the question of the day is, what is more horrifying, the cockroaches or the rats? What do you think?
Cockroaches, 100%. There's so many of them. They don't stop crawling. They just keep scurrying. The rats will run away. You know, they're frightened. They go. The cockroaches will just kind of mill about. And as you can see on there, they were crawling all over everyone. And yeah, I think that would be way worse.
It's hard for me to choose. It really is. I was reading that Jeffrey Dean Morgan read that part in the script and he thought, oh no, no, I don't want to do this. I don't want to go through this. So I thought that was so revealing on his part. And when I saw that, and I thought, are they going to scream? Are they going to make a noise? But they didn't when they were faced with that. But I actually had a reaction when that rat was coming out of that walker's mouth,
that was
tail.
Yeah.
Oh man, that freaked me out. So I think I would say the cockroaches, but I don't know. I had an initial reaction to that rat coming in and out of that walker's mouth.
Quite a shock, yes, for sure. Yeah, something we hadn't seen before. Yeah.
Yeah. So friends out there, let us know what you think. What is more horrifying, the cockroaches or the rats? You can leave us a comment on Twitter or Instagram at Screens in Focus. All social media links are on our website at screensinfocus.com. We would love to hear from you. The links are in our show notes. Okay, so before we dive into today's exciting episode of Dead City and Fear the Walking Dead, I did want to mention that Renee and I actually crossed paths through our involvement in the podcasting world and our love of the Walking Dead universe. And I reached out to Renee, and to my delight, she responded. And here we are co-hosting this podcast episode together. Renee, could you please share some of your involvement with the Walking Dead universe and your experiences?
Yeah, absolutely. So I was thrilled when you contacted me because anytime someone wants to talk about The Walking Dead, I'm game. So I'm one of those people who I didn't start out watching The Walking Dead from the beginning. My son and husband kept saying, you have to check out the show. You're going to like it. You're going to like it. Well, I just kind of, okay, yeah, whatever. It's mid-season 3. I'm sick. It's New Year's, like over New Year's, and I'm sick. And I'm like, oh, I need something to binge. And I'm flipping through. I'm like, oh, I'll try this show that they kept telling me to watch. So I have 2.5 seasons or it must have been 3.5 seasons. Yeah. So I'm watching and I could not stop watching. And over 3 days, 4 days, I watched all of the episodes I could watch and I was hooked. And then since then that I've, made a career out of The Walking Dead. I write full time for Undead Walking. I started out as a contributor in 2019, I believe it was. And then I did that for a few years and then the editor left. So then that position came open. So I took over as editor. So now that's what I do. And then from there, just different connections and people I've met, different things. I'm involved with the camp events that takes place in Peachtree City in May. And I, friends with the creators, but then just every year my involvement in that gets more and more. Yeah. I'm actually on staff now. With my podcast host, we actually do the panels at the event and things like that. And then just the community online, especially Twitter, you just develop such a community with other Walking Dead lovers. And it's just so much fun. And so I meet people like you.
Yeah, oh, I know. I was so happy and so thrilled. And so I'm so excited that you're here. And I can't wait to get your insight on all of this because one is a mid-season finale and one is a
Mm-hmm.
premiere. So it's just so exciting. So thank you so much for being
Yes.
here.
Thank you for inviting me.
Of course. So let's start off with the mid-season finale of Fear the Walking Dead. All I See Is Red. Oh my gosh, so much happened in this episode. Also, I want to mention, I thought it was going to be longer, and I think most people thought it was going to be a longer episode also.
There was, because AMC's scheduling had it a very long on there. If you looked at their schedule, it like went for a very long time, like 2 hours or something crazy.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. But then as I was thinking about that, I thought, wait a minute, Dead City was initially supposed to come after Fear, and it was only scheduled for the regular time. So I thought that had to be a misprint. And then I get the screeners. And so then when I got that, I was able, I mean, I didn't confirm it because we're not supposed to talk about that, so I didn't confirm it until Thursday when it aired on AMC Plus. And then I was like, okay, guys, it's regular time, because people kept saying they couldn't wait. And I didn't want them to be very disappointed when it was just a normal run.
I know. I kept saying, oh my God, it's just going to be this long and so much is going to happen. And so as it was going, as we see it before our eyes and we see what is happening with everybody and Morgan, and I kept thinking, this almost seems like it's going to end. Mm-hmm. And I kept thinking, what's going to happen the next hour? We feel like this is a really good mid-season finale. And then I kept imagining what was going to happen. But anyway, back to this particular episode. We do see Morgan in this dangerous state of blacking out and clearing, which put everyone in danger. And we saw the end of Shrike and Crane's rule of Padre, with Madison emerging as the new leader. And we also see Sherry and Dwight put their son to rest, which I have something to say about that in a little bit. Mm-hmm. We also see Morgan and Mo on a journey to find Wrecking Company. And then we saw an ending with wondering, Alicia's mechanical arm and those sunglasses. Also, I knew that I knew that Morgan Jones was going to be, his farewell this season. Yeah. I didn't realize before watching this that this was his last episode. Mm-hmm. So that hit me afterwards. So tell me, what were your thoughts on the finale?
So I was not thrilled with the finale, because the mid-season finale, because I just feel like, they had such an opportunity with those red outs that they were doing. We've never seen what Morgan experiences in those red outs. We just hear about it. He was clearing and he was this. I thought, man, they had such an opportunity. They could have shown us through the red, show us what Morgan's doing, instead of having him wake up and be somewhere else. I don't remember. I don't know what happened. And we're like, and then we all have to piece it together. So I was very disappointed with that, because I thought, wow, you went through all this trouble, because that was a lot for production to get those red, and do all that stuff, that they could have done so much more with that. Especially, I just feel like they waste Lenny James a lot, because he's such a talented actor. And I feel like sometimes the writing doesn't reflect that for him. And a lot of them on Fear, but I know. So I was a little disappointed with that part of it for sure. And the whole thing, like where he's calling Rick, everyone's excited. And then the episode ends and 7 articles are published where Lenny James is like, I'm done playing Morgan.
Right.
So what is that? Done forever? Done just in Fear? Done?
Yes.
I don't know. I just had a lot of issues with that. I felt like Dwight and Sherry didn't get the attention that they needed with Finch. I'm like, why didn't we see them? I mean, it's horrible to watch a child die, but they deserved, I feel like it was a disservice to fans not to see them experience that grief more than what they did, just them burying him, and they have been on, they're crossover characters. We've known them for years and years and all that they've gone through. And I just feel like they really kind of like, okay, we'll just throw this in, we'll tack it here on the end, And so I felt like they just kind of, didn't get, for as much of a deal as they made as them crossing over and like, hey, we have these crossover characters, and then give them that. And they've got some previews out already for part 2. It looks like at least one, they'll be back a little bit maybe, but I don't know what that means, for them. I don't know, the whole Padre thing, to me, it was like they just kind of wasted it. You built it up for a whole season, and then so I had a lot of issues with it.
I so agree with you on the Padre part. I thought that just didn't end very well. Shrike's death, I don't know. Something was totally missing there for me. It just was so abrupt. Shrike and Crane are gone. I'm glad, and I wondered if this would be the end of them, but I don't know that I liked how that ended at all. I don't think it was, that part of it was written very well. Oh gosh, Sherry and Dwight, I will say that both times that I watched it, I was crying. I don't know why I was so emotional, but I was. And I think, okay, so I say I don't know why, but I think I know why. I feel like the odds are always against them and they never get this happiness. And I just feel like they are going through this grief that is so immense that they think they need to be apart, that they think it wasn't the sanctuary and that it wasn't Padre, but it is. It is them. These people in this world are beating you down, and I get how beaten down they feel, but I think it hurt me for them because I think that they really do love each other. And it's not anything that they are doing wrong. It's just how life has handed them this. And so
it's their environments that they get stuck in, they just get a bad rap with that. But I cried too. Like I just always thought, these characters are like whatever to me. But then I was sitting there sobbing as I'm watching that part.
I was. And I surprised myself.
As a mother,
Me too. And I was so mad at Shrike for putting Finch in that predicament. I was like, how did you get away with that? Why aren't they more upset with her about this? They kind of let that go by the wayside also. It's like, you did this.
Yeah, like they were so nice to her at the end. I'm like, she did all this.
Right. If she had not orchestrated Finch being bit, then he would. And why would you do that? Because also, okay, wait, I'm going to get too much into this. And I just want to get quick feedback on it. It's like, no, we're talking about it. But why would she even put Finch in that situation when it appeared back when she was first talking with June, like they had made some leaps and bounds of this working. And it's progress, like, no, progress. But there was no progress. It was the same way it was, I'm sure, before. So,
and she's supposed to be such an advocate for these children. There she was. I don't want these children to hurt. I don't want but I'm going to hurt them. And then I'm going to put him in this horde and let him fight and die, for these coordinates and these supplies I need. Yeah, it was just very weird. And I was excited because I thought she was going to be kind of a formidable opponent here for, she seemed like Crane, not so much. He seemed very wimpy and not so, hiding behind his little window and all that. But I was really excited because I thought she was going to be someone to come against. Like, I would love to, when she first came on, she seemed very strong and I was excited. I thought, man, I'd love to see her like with Daniel or something, some kind of something happened, but then it just fell flat.
It did.
So. Yeah.
Oh man. I will say also, I did appreciate, the conversation between Madison and Morgan, her being there for him and just what they said to each other before he went away. And I just thought that was an important conversation. I loved how she said, I hope I get to see you again, the both of you. And of course, in my mind, I'm thinking that he's not going away yet. There's 6 more episodes. We're going to see him again. So I thought, oh my gosh, that was so heartfelt. Yeah, that was so heartfelt. Yes, of course you're going to see each other again. And then my mind was going, because he's going to go back to Alexandria or Hilltop, wherever it is, and reunite with some people. And how is that going to happen? Wait, I want to bring up also that Dwight said to Sherry, she says, where are you going to go? And he says, I'm going to go back home.
Yeah, because I'm like, wait a minute, where was his home? Because I don't know where, I don't remember. And I meant to look that up because I saw you had that question. I was going to look it up to see where he originally came from, because they came to the sanctuary. So did he mean home, or did he mean their home? Because remember, they had their home where they lived at, him and Sherry, because that's where he first went when he was searching for her. So then I thought, did he mean home? Yeah. So, but I wanted to look to see, like, did it have, like, sometimes, they'll say, oh, he's from here originally or something like that. I wondered what he meant by that. Yeah.
Yeah. I did too. I thought, well, where is that?
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah, that was weird. They just left that like that. And there was something when you were, and one thing about this season too, I feel like, like with them having him take Grace's body to Eastman Cemetery, I'm like, Fear the Walking Dead people don't know who Eastman is. Walking Dead people barely remember who Eastman was. He was in one episode and most people didn't even like the episode. You know what I mean? And so I just feel like the creators did a lot of Walking Dead nostalgia just to try to draw in Walking Dead viewers. Like, we're going to mention Rick. We're going to do this. We're going to do this. We're going to take him back to Georgia. All these little like things just to kind of reel them in. Yeah. But nothing had any meat to it. I mean, like I'm glad Morgan went back to Georgia because I'm glad to hear the end of that story. And for him too, because he obviously didn't remember what he did with Dwayne. When he found him up there in that attic, he was like, oh, wait a minute. That's what I did with him. He didn't remember any of that. And so for viewers that are Walking Dead fans, that was really good to get closure on that. And like, okay. So, because we were all sure he didn't kill him because he said, I think he even, one of his comments, he said Jenny was and Dwayne is or something like that in that episode in The Walking Dead. So everyone's like, he did not put, Dwayne down. But I like the fact that he got that closure, but I just feel like a lot of it was just lip service kind of stuff for all these Walking Dead fans to kind of reel them in. We're going to watch Fear because there's going to be Rick ties and all this stuff. And then it kind of just fizzled out. But the whole Eastman thing, I didn't quite understand that because no one remembers who that is.
What's so interesting? When the episode came out, King County, and he went to King County that Sunday that I watched it, because I watch on the regular schedule. That night before, I watched that episode with Eastman by accident. It was not orchestrated at all. My husband and I have been watching The Walking Dead for the umpteenth time from the beginning. And so every week, wherever, we just watch a couple episodes. Yeah. So we're in season 5 or 6. Yeah, 5 or 6, somewhere around there. Anyway, I had seen that episode. We watched the episode that night before. And I had recalled that wasn't actually probably my favorite episode. But as I'm watching it, I'm like, you know what? I really like this episode, like halfway through. So I watch it. And then the next day I watched the one with Morgan. I thought, oh my gosh, this was the perfect way to watch it. It really was. So
to see,
if people could see these back to back. So in watching this, it did mean something to me because I just seen it recently. So I understood the importance and what Morgan had gone through and the journey he had been on. So it was perfect timing for me. Yeah. So I did appreciate.
They should have announced that. Watch this episode before you.
Yes, exactly. So I appreciated that too. And that he took Grace there to bury her there. And it was funny because I thought it looked familiar. I didn't realize they were there already. And of course, we see Mo looking different. She has her hair down. She's wearing regular kid clothes. And I thought that was just really sweet between them. So I did love that. Felt like an ending for them. Yeah. Even though I didn't realize it really was until a few minutes later. But I did enjoy it. And of course, I love that he called Rick on the walkie-talkie because that was full circle for him. That was where he started. Exactly. This is where he's ending. So I think just for Morgan, his character, I think that this all worked just for him.
Yeah, it was a good ending for Morgan. Yeah.
But where is everybody else? That's I was really disappointed with that, not seeing. Yeah. And I really thought that this episode, and also because I thought there was going to be I thought it was going to be
longer.
I thought we were going to at least see other people somehow. Yeah. But we didn't.
Did you watch the called Show Me More? They have that. There's the series called Show Me More that the gal, she's called Clark Wolf, is the host for it. And so they do them like at the end, they do them mid-season or they do them at the end of a season, and then she'll kind of recap what has gone on in this season. So they already put out the Fear the Walking Dead Part 1, Season 8 out. At the end of that, they do a lot of, like, not a lot, but at the very end of it, they do have some little clips and pieces and things. And for Part 2, so you do see Strand, you see Luciana, you see they're together, they're Madison and Strand, and Daniel. And if I remember, they're pretty, it's very quick how it all is. I'm pretty sure I saw at least Sherry, but I'm pretty sure Dwight was in something too. So I think we'll at least see some of them so we're going to see them coming up, but yeah, I mean, of course that was very vague and it's all clips that you have no idea if they're pieced together, how they
right.
It's all just all over the place, but at least we know they're coming for this part. But it's kind of, I don't know, to me, I liked how The Walking Dead had everybody together, at the end.
Right.
They had them all, then this kind of thing, so it won't be like that. I mean, we're not going to probably see Morgan or Mo. And we don't, and we haven't heard from Sarah and Wendell and Rabbi Jacob. And we haven't heard from, I'm trying to think of who else there.
Charlie. Did Charlie survive? Did she die?
So I did an interview with her and I said, I have to ask. And she's like, and I have to answer because I appreciate the effort, but you have to watch season 8. So she of course could say nothing, but it was a great interview with her. She had wonderful answers. I'll have to share it with you. It was really good. But so I'm hoping, I doubt she survived. I can't imagine how, but I hope that we hear her story or something besides Daniel just saying, oh, I wasn't there. I'm like, that's not enough because she's been on the series since season 4. Yeah. Right. And so, she deserves more than just Daniel's quick mention. So hopefully.
Exactly. Or if it was the end of her being on Fear the Walking Dead, we should have seen that in 7.
Yeah.
It's like, give people what they're due. These characters that have been on for so long.
Yeah.
I don't know. But okay. So the very last thing before we move on is who is the mystery person?
So I wrote an article today and I said, who is it? Because
I have to go check that out. Make sure everyone listening to go check out that article.
So I'm very frustrated because all of the chatter, have you read the chatter online about who
some
it
of
is?
It? Tell me. Yes, of course. The one
they think it's Troy.
Yeah. Okay, go ahead.
Troy, she bashed him in the head with a hammer at least twice and threw him down the river when the dam exploded. How did he survive that? I in my first article that I wrote, I was like, if it's Troy, I am done watching this series. I'm like, this is ridiculous.
I am done.
But I don't know how they make that happen. Then I've seen people say that, it could be Althea because we haven't seen her. But to me, you can kind of see the blonde, like when somebody bends down, he's got long blonde hair kind of hanging down. And the hands do look very feminine, but some guys have smaller hands.
Yes.
I suppose. But Althea, I was like, but she's always had dark hair, but I'm like, she's been on the run from the CRM. She could have dyed her hair to conceal her identity. But again, she wasn't at the dam. And that map definitely shows from the dam through Texas down to the Gulf. So that kind of threw that. But here's the one I read today and I was like very excited about. Proctor John.
I read that too.
I was like, interesting, because we don't know his fate after the dam exploded. He's got long hair. I don't know that his hands were that small or anything, but he would have a vendetta against the Clarks for sure. He would be one of those people that would be, and he would be one who would go out and seek that. So I was very excited about that prospect because I would love to see him come back. So that was my most exciting one. But if it's Troy, I am so mad.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with everything that you just said. I thought my initial thought was it Al? But Al's great, but I just don't know that would bring the excitement needed unless she has something to share. And why would she left on good terms with everybody. So
they solved. Okay. So Daniel Sharman, who played Troy, was seen on set. Okay, so that's where all these rumors are coming from. But that could be she could be having more, Madison could be having a flashback or who knows. Or they could have just said, hey, come on set. We're going to start getting people talking. We're going to put this hammer in this last scene because everyone's going to be, that's the hammer, and then they have Strand sunglasses, which is odd. Like, why is like that? Yeah, and then the hammer. Yeah. And then, Alicia's arm, for crying out loud. That's not boding well for her to have someone have her arm,
Right.
And Yeah, so I almost feel like the Troy thing is too obvious because he has the hammer. Everybody wants it to be Troy because he was awesome. He was such a great character. I mean, he was a great, bad guy, and he was, everything. So sure, it would be wonderful to have the character back, but it's just, how do you do that? I mean, I don't.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, I went back and rewatched the clip in the episode because I was like, okay, I got to see this again. And she bashes them,
Right. Yeah.
So I mean, it's exciting. I'm positive it's somebody we know, because why would they introduce? I mean, I guess I would think that. I mean, they have to be somebody we know to have those ties and those specific things, and then that map with those spots. So I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, no, I agree with you. And I love this whole thought process. I'm with you. Maybe it is Proctor. So
yeah,
that would probably be the best.
I think it would be exciting. Yeah, because I mean, he's a great actor. I love seeing him in things, and he always plays he always plays such good characters, and things. Yeah. It'd be fun to have him back. I think he'd be a good one, but I guess, we'll have to wait till the fall to find out.
Exactly. Exactly.
But I hope it's not Troy.
Yeah, true. I agree. So we'll see. Well, that's our wrap up on Fear the Walking Dead. Let's get to the premiere of The Walking Dead Dead City. I've been so excited. I heard such positive reviews on the series, such anticipation. I think everybody is just so excited, and here we have these two characters from The Walking Dead, Negan and Maggie, who have this complicated history, to say the least. And in the Walking Dead finale, we saw a crucial scene between them. Negan's heartfelt apology and Maggie's response. I would love to know your thoughts on that, because surely it plays into the impact, leading up to Dead City. What did you think about that? How they ended it?
So I think it was the words she needed to hear. She had longed to hear those words. I think she needed to hear those words, but I don't think they had the impact she was hoping they would. I think that once she heard them, it was like, oh, that was it. That didn't do it for me, and she tells him as much in that conversation they have. And I think that was just something no one should ever have to go through. And, like she said, every time she looks at Negan, she can't think of Glenn, and a happy moment. She can't think of Glenn before any of that. That's the moment in time that's frozen for her.
Right.
And it's horrible, and every time she looks at Negan or thinks of Glenn, that's the thought that goes in her brain. And, she did at least, acknowledge that he saved Herschel, and she was very appreciative of that. Like, thank you for saving my son, but this is still there.
Right.
And I think at that point, Negan realized, I got to get out of here, because it's only a matter of time before she snaps and kills me, and that's when he takes Annie and goes off and does his own thing.
Yeah.
And I just think that it's very crucial in their relationship, because regardless of what comes after that, it's always going to be there in between, that tension, and it's just always going to be there.
Yeah. I was really happy with that scene in the finale. Mm-hmm. I think that for Negan's part, he needed to say it, because he finally, it was his realization of realizing what he had done, because he was put in the same position. And so I think that he needed to do it, but I was really happy with Maggie's response, because if she had said, okay, let's move on. Yeah, it would have been, what? What are you talking about? No. So I think that it was perfect that he is, seeking this redemption and apologizing, and he's doing everything he can. It is heartfelt. How he feels, I believe that he is sorry. But also, this happened to Maggie and her husband, and we all saw it. And, Glenn is so beloved. He's one of my favorite characters. So I just thought it was perfect. I thought it was perfect because we saw this apology, but Maggie could only hear what he had to say, but it wasn't going to help her in moving. Well, it did help her moving forward, but it wasn't going to change her mind, is I guess what I want to say. So,
it's definitely something that needed to be done. Yeah, for sure. For both of them, like you said, she needed to hear it. He needed to say it. And it probably didn't hit him until he was on the receiving end of that, begging for his wife's life and child, Yeah.
So my thought is, and I've said this before, that people kill people to survive in this whole apocalypse. But the way Negan killed Glenn is the thing that's basically irredeemable. It's the way you did it in front of who you did it and, how that came out.
Mm-hmm.
Something that I can understand Maggie not getting over. It wasn't like, oh, he died over there or he got shot from a distance.
Yeah.
That would have been a little bit different, I think, to comprehend and take in.
Well, I'm going to reverse this quick and ask you a question then. Okay. So Negan did this because Rick's group killed his people in their sleep. So it's not really different. I mean, they attacked that satellite. We always talk about this on our podcast because it's like, if Negan was your hero, if you're getting, instead of Rick, if we're hearing Negan's story and Negan is our hero, Rick's the villain. And so, it's just one of those things where absolutely it's horrible what Negan did. But it's just one of those things where, as he tells Maggie in season 11, he's like, I did this because you guys killed my people in their sleep. Yeah. You know what I mean? And so I don't remember how many they killed at that satellite, but they killed a lot of people at that satellite. And then he killed 2 of theirs. And so, he was doing kind of tit for tat kind of thing, but as us fans of Glenn, of Abraham, of Rick's group, we're of course going to be more sympathetic. Yeah. But, I just love that interaction with Negan and Maggie in that scene in season 11, because he's like, if I had to do it over, I'd kill all of you.
I heard him say
because it would have gotten rid of all of gotten rid of all of his headaches at that time. And so anyway, I just always like to, you know what I mean? It's just kind of devil's advocate kind of thing.
Exactly. I understand that, but I'm still on the fence over here, just because it was the manner in which it was done and doing it in front of his pregnant wife. That's why I said, if you had shot Glenn and Abraham from a distance because they were, they did it, I'm not going to accept it. But what I'm saying is, I guess I could understand it from that standpoint. But the fact that you did something so vicious.
Yeah. And seemed to relish in it also.
Yes, exactly. He did, because he was taunting her, because she even says, you taunted us when you said it. It wasn't like you just did it. You were relishing in it. We could talk about that. We could have a full episode on that.
That's another episode.
Yes, exactly. So let's move on to the actual premiere. All right. So I just absolutely love the feel and the setting of Dead City. We see Maggie scoping out New York City. She's attacked by this walker and she begins her search for Negan. Upon finding him, we learn that her camp was raided by a group led by the Croat. They took little Herschel, and so Maggie enlists Negan's help because of his connection to Croat. So there is tension and conflict. It arises as they work together to rescue little Herschel, including that from the Marshal of New Babylon. So tell me your overall impression of the episode.
So the first time I watched it, I just sat and watched because I was so ready to take this in. I'd been so excited for this episode. I think, being the first direct spinoff, it's just been so exciting because we know these characters. And so it's like, before we have Fear and then World Beyond and everything else, we just get introduced to these new people. And it was great also, but it was like, okay, we know these guys, what's going to happen? But I loved when, one part that really stood out to me, when she killed the walker, all I thought of was Glenn. I was like, oh my gosh, this was like, that head, she's bashing in his head. And that was the first thing I thought was Glenn.
Yes.
And then I loved when she was driving the blue truck. And that felt so Walking Dead to me. She's going through the wooded area. Yes. And then that blue truck reminded me of season 2 on Herschel's farm. They had that blue truck. And so there was so much familiarity there at that part. And then they get to the Hudson and start crossing over. And you're like, okay, this is not The Walking Dead anymore. But it was so amazing. You see those walkers in the river and then you get into Manhattan. It was just so, it was better than I'd hoped for. And I had high hopes for this. And so overall, I was completely pleased with the episode. I was really shocked at how hardened Maggie has, it seems, since we last saw her. I don't understand what happened at Hilltop, because it seemed to be thriving after that 1 year time jump. They seem, I don't think it, of course, was rebuilt because it had been burnt, and everything.
Yeah.
But, it seemed like it was better at that 1 year time jump. So I thought, oh, okay, things are, but then something else has happened in the meantime. Now she's at this place. I think it's called the Bricks. I read somewhere it's called the Bricks where they're at. And so what happened there, and why she's at this new place. So I hope we get a history on that, and things.
Right. Yeah.
But yeah, overall, completely pleased with it. Very excited to see what comes next.
Yes, I know. I loved it so much for all the same reasons that you had mentioned. I loved how it started in this town. There was something just really appealing to me about that because they were rebuilding. I felt it was a little bit small town Western feel about it.
Yeah.
And the fact that they have this bar, that they have these patrons outside, these patrons were looking to me like they were looking for a good time. I thought, they started this up again.
Some of the characters I noticed on the, like IMDb were the prostitute. So yeah.
Yes. So I thought, oh, that is interesting. And the fact that they have law and order, whether it's done correctly or not, but it reminded me of that Western feel, right? Depending on who the marshal is, they get to dictate what's happening in the town. So all of that, I loved that feel. So, but you also get that. And like you said, but then they cross over to New York and now you have this city feel, even though, yes, it's a post-apocalyptic, but still you still have the buildings and everything that was there. So I just love the feel of all of that because it's a new environment. So I thought that was so exciting. Yeah, it was just great. So tell me what your thoughts are on Maggie and Negan, how they are now, because you said, Maggie was hardened and we see Negan kind of in a different space with a new character. But of course, their friction is still there. So what did you think about them and their relationship in this first episode?
Well, I think it's what you would expect, like they, there was, there's never been, a very closeness between the two of them, and I think, she was being pretty rough with him till she realized he had Jenny with him. And then she was like, oh, wait a minute. I think two things. I think she thought, oh, wait, there's a child here. I need to watch what I'm doing. But number two, oh, here's my key to getting Negan to do what I want. He's got this kid he needs help with. That's how I'm getting him to help me because I can provide protection and safety for her. So, it's kind of a twofold thing there. But I think, I mean, it's about what I expected. I mean, we had seen, the image of her holding the knife to his neck had been released way. I mean, that was way early when that image was released. So you're like, okay, this isn't starting off, like all sunshine and roses here. It's going to be a little, something. So, and I love that Negan has, I mean, like, he's in a different headspace, but he's also still Negan,
Yeah.
He's just, he's like looking at that, I loved it when he was looking at the wanted poster and he's like, well, I look pretty good for a wanted man,
Yes.
just getting it up, the whole time. And he knew right away that she was looking for him for a reason. He's like, how do I fit into this, Maggie? She wasn't just looking for him because she cared. She had a reason. Exactly. And it didn't take him long to figure out either. As soon as she said something, he's like, oh, they took your kid, And so I wasn't real surprised at the tension between them because I kind of expected it to be that way just from those first images and things that were released and interviews they had done. They're like, don't expect this to be, a buddy comedy or anything like that.
Right. So I was surprised when we saw them in the truck together. I think they were waking up or I can't recall exactly, but I do recall that Maggie was having the visions of Glenn and what had happened to him. And I was shocked that those were in this premiere, but because I didn't like him, it made me feel so uncomfortable. That's probably my least watch episode because I can't watch it. It's just so gruesome and it pains me. So it's hard for me to watch it. And they showed a lot. I'm like, why are they showing this again? And I kept trying to kind of cover my face. I'm like, oh my gosh. But I think it was so important because if anyone is new, they have to know the backstory. And also it does remind you of Maggie's headspace and where she's at. So I thought that was very smart for them to put that in there.
so I'm not a reactional TV watcher. I kind of just sit and watch, and I jumped back in my chair and I out loud said, "What are they doing?" Like the creators, my brain, I'm like, why are they showing this? I have never watched that episode twice. Never. I watched it once, never watched it again. And so to see those, the same way, I'm like, it's just not stopping. It's just, they just keep doing it. And it was, but like you said, I think it was necessary, but it was a total shock. Yeah. But again, I think, I just feel like I've had such a bad experience with Fear the Walking Dead this season, and the writing and just how it was. And then to come to this, it's just been so refreshing. It's like, now this is what it should be like. Yes. The writing is good. The acting is good. The filming is wonderful. Yeah. Everything is so good, you know? And I know like a lot of people were not real happy with the ending, you know, with The Walking Dead and just the last seasons or whatever. I've always liked The Walking Dead. Even when it was bad, it was still good kind of thing. Yeah. But this is just really good. You know, and I think, you know, I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that, you know, Jeffrey Dean Morgan and Lauren Cohen they're executive producers on this.
I was going to say that.
And in one of the interviews, they said they didn't expect this to be a new step for them. You know, like, we're doing acting and now we're going to do this. Neither one of them really kind of thought about it. But when it was presented, like, yeah, let's do this. And so I think it's good that they're getting their input into this, because they've lived these characters for how long. They know what the fan, and they pay attention to what the fans. I don't know that the creators always do, right? But the actors do. They listen and they see the stuff, you know, especially Jeffrey Dean Morgan. He is so, I mean, he is constantly on social media talking to his fans. And listen, you know, he's reading stuff, you know. I mean, he shared my articles before. They read this stuff. They see,
cool.
You know, and things like, yeah. My best is when Norman Reedus shares something I wrote. That's my favorite. But you know what I mean? It's just one of those things where I just feel like everything about this is just so good, you know? And so that having Glenn, and those scenes, as much as it was awful, it was necessary, like you said.
Yeah. When Negan was about to throw that junior marshal over the boat, and he says something like, "I think this," and she says, "Well, it doesn't matter what you think." And he's basically like, you know, you've been giving me shit this whole time and I haven't taken it, and I'm tired of taking it. I thought we put this to rest. And he says, "I realize with Herschel being kidnapped, all these feelings are coming out. But basically, let me ask you a question. You know, how many husbands and fathers have you killed?" But then she comes back, because I'm thinking, oh my God, he said a lot to her, right? Because he had enough of her telling him all these things. And then she says, "What you did can never be put to bed," which I thought was a great comeback. So here we go with the great writing again, and the great performances. They're both so good at these characters and what they do. I noticed a lot of Maggie's nuances that I thought, man, she's really good. She really knows this character of hers. They both do. Yeah. But
they play so well together. The chemistry, that goes like, their chemistry together is just so good. And that's one of the reasons Jeffrey Dean Morgan, he was ready to be done with Negan. And then they presented this to him, and he was like, in New York. And he was like, okay, I like that. Yeah. And then with Lauren, he was like, I love working with her. And so that, you know, that was what made him like, okay, I'll do this, you know, kind of thing. But they're so good together. Yeah.
Yeah. I think it was a really smart choice for them to put these two together, because of what has happened, and people are interested. Like, how do you navigate that?
Yeah. And exactly.
That is what we are learning, because we're all human. And I'm going to get into something in a few minutes, but right now, I also wanted to bring up about Negan's legacy, because the marshal talks about it at the bar, which I thought was so interesting, because we saw it, we experienced it when it happened, but now it's like a legacy. It's a story that happened. And I found that so interesting that they put it in there, because it's something that's happened in the past.
Yeah.
I don't know. Something struck me about that.
Yeah, me too. Like it was, like you said, it was like he's lived in infamy for this. Like, this guy, you watch out for him, because this is the kind of person he does these things, you know? And so, it was interesting that they added that.
I like seeing that. And kind of what I wanted to say in this is that I wondered about Ginny, and him watching over her and how that is impacting Maggie because she sees him being a caretaker. And it's hard when you see someone that you don't like, you don't want to like, but they are being good or being nurturing or being protective of this other person. So,
and that's a side to see Maggie. We've all seen that. He's done it with Judith. He did it with Carl. He did, Lydia, he's done this, but Maggie has been gone. She has not seen that side of him.
Right.
So for us, it's like, oh yeah, he's taking care of another kid, but for her, it is a very, this is, like what's happening here? What's his game? Why, I'm sure she's questioning, what's in it for him kind of thing. Yeah.
But he's always had an affinity for kids. Always. We see
absolutely.
It all the time.
He won't hurt kids.
And I loved how, yes, Maggie's hardened, but she's very tough too. And I loved it. I love that knife in her boot. And
that was cool.
yes. I'm like, I want that. This ever happens, I got to figure out a boot and how to make that happen. So
no kidding. Oh, and quick bit of trivia. I don't know if you know this. The bar owner, the gal with the curly hair, that's Michelle Hurd.
I know.
Yes, that's Garrett Dillahunt's wife. Yeah. So that was cool. As soon as I saw her, I was like, how did they keep this under wraps? Because I had, of course, watched it early. And so I was like, I can't believe they've kept this quiet because you think as soon as somebody, they knew that they would have put that out there. So that was really cool. I thought that was awesome, even though she didn't last long, but it was just neat to have her.
I know. I thought the same thing. Well, when I saw her in the background, because she has the coolest hair, I know. I'm like, oh my God, that's her in the background. I told my husband.
It's her hair. I know. I love it. They had their anniversary recently, like their
27th
anniversary. And he called her Goldie, and I thought that was adorable.
I saw that. They're so cute.
They are.
John Dory was one of my favorite characters in FearTWD.
Yeah, he was so good.
I was like devastated when his part came about.
I interviewed him shortly after that.
You did?
I did. And he was just done. It wasn't any bad, it was, he was ready to move on to new things. And so everybody was very mad about it and angry and stuff, but it was his choice. He was ready, and so it was, it was sad because he was one of my favorites. I loved it. I mean, when he first came out, I was like, okay, now I can like this show because this guy's great.
He's amazing. Yes, he's so good at John Dory.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
All right. So what about the other characters that we saw that were introduced in this episode? What'd you think about them?
Yeah, like Pearly, I think I'm going to really like him. So I feel like I think he's going to be like a good guy, I think, sure he's after Negan because they got their laws, they got their rules, Negan's saying it's one story. He's saying it's another. We don't, whatever. I'm sure eventually this, truth will probably come out or whatever. Yeah. But I feel like, he's just doing his job. He's a family man. He's got his wife and kids and he wants to provide for them and he wants to do his job well so that he can provide, kind of thing. I think he's, just of that. So I feel like there'll be some kind of, he has an address, got a family or something he's looking for in New York. I feel like somehow he'll team up with them, or maybe he's even had some dealings with the Croat before. I feel like there'll be some kind of alliance with Maggie and Negan and him, just because I don't think he's a villain.
Yeah, it's interesting because I initially really liked him too. I thought, oh, there's something about him that I like, and of course, it's the actors just shining through in these performances.
Yeah.
So I really liked him and I was feeling everything that you had just said, but then I wondered because he was so good at getting people to divulge or come his way. I don't know. There's just something that he's really good at playing this part, but then he gets you, like just how he did that with what was her role? She wasn't a bartender.
Bar owner was her name.
Oh, she was the bar owner.
Yep, bar owner.
Yeah. So I mean, he just throws her to the walkers and he tells, I call him the kid, that junior marshal.
Yeah.
Jano, I think his name is Jano, but I had to do it. I thought, okay, you had to do it. But then he talks about what he's going to do to Negan when he catches them.
Yeah.
And then we see what he does to Jano. So I can't quite figure him out, which I think is a good thing. So it's like, are you, and the part about his family talking when he walked through that dry cleaners and was telling Maggie, oh, I have a family, I have this, I have that. I'm like, man, you're a good talker, which remind me a little bit of Coleman Domingo, right? A little bit of that type of person. Are you just saying this or do you really? Because if you're somebody like this and you're telling somebody, I have a wife, I have 3 kids, what if they come back to use that against you? You don't know who this person you're talking to. Are you really going to divulge this information? So I wondered, I really do wonder if he really does have that family. I thought initially, oh, I think he's going to be an ally, but I'm still on the fence. But I think the part where you said, you know, he read that piece of paper he had where he has family in New York City, that made me teeter one way because I thought, okay, this is a guy who cares about somebody who values humans, maybe only his own humans, but he still values humans. So he could very well become their ally. So I'm hoping that he will, because I do like him as a character, but I think I have to see more of him before I really, before I really know about him. Because with Croat, he doesn't seem like he cares. Like he's just kind of crazy, villainous guy.
Whatever.
Yeah. So what did you think about him?
Oh, I was so excited. So I got to interview him and Gaius, and then the girl plays Ginny, and it was kind of it was a round table kind of thing. So there were several of us there, that. So it wasn't it was fun. But he was talking about how very influenced by Negan and his showmanship, that's kind of thing and that kind of stuff. But yeah, I think he is primeval. Jeffrey Dean Morgan said in interviews that the Croat has taken evil even further than Negan ever would have thought to do. So that's intriguing to me. I think it was really interesting how he was talking about how, he's known where Negan has been for a while because he says to Herschel, have you met the man who killed your father? He's lived among your mother's people for a long time. He's been watching him. He knows this. And did you notice his ear is messed up?
Yes, I did. The second time.
And so I'm wondering if Negan melted him like Dwight.
Like Dwight? Yes. I thought the same thing. I'm so glad you brought that up.
Because I was watching on my computer screen, but it's a big screen, but I'm close right here. And I'm like, stop. And I'm like looking, I'm like, oh my gosh, I think he got Dwighted,
Yeah.
So I don't know. So I'm excited to hear some.
Oh my gosh.
But yeah, so I saw that and I was like, wait, is that what am I seeing there? Because it was very dark, but yeah. So that was kind of interesting. And then, in one of the trailers, so did you see Ozark?
Yes.
So Lisa Emery, who played Darlene Snell?
Oh, I saw that. Oh my gosh.
She is in league with the Croat, and I cannot wait because she is the best bad gal you could.
She is.
So I'm hoping that she is, channeling her inner Darlene Snell to do this character. I can't wait to meet her on this series. When she first flashed up, I was like, oh my gosh. So I'm excited to see those two together and their dynamic.
Me too.
Yeah. But anyway, the Croat, I'm very impressed so far. It'll be fun to see what else, he's got going on. But picking on this little kid, so it's kind of hard to tell how intimidating he is because poor little Herschel,
I know.
But you feel so bad for him.
Was he really going to torture him, or was he trying to scare him? I was wondering. I'm like, why are you going to torture him?
I don't know, because he was pretty mean to that guy with the zip line, man. He didn't hesitate.
I know.
Oh, and that's another thing. I was so disappointed. So in the trailer, when that guy is running, everyone thought that was a variant walker because the way he was down on all fours and kind of ran across the thing. So many people thought that was a variant. And it's like, aw.
That's just some human that was tortured and in prison.
It just fell 20 stories or whatever it was. Yeah.
Oh,
so, but no, I thought he was good. So I was excited.
Ask his secondhand man, wherever, just holds out his hand. He happens to have pliers or whatever to cut the wire. Come on.
Yeah. Just carry those around. Come on. And then it was that easy to cut that thick wire. I'm like, how sharp are those things?
pretty handy.
Should have been a little harder.
Oh gosh.
But yeah. Right. So what did you think of him?
Yeah, no, I thought he was great. And like you said, I noticed that his ear was messed up. And it was funny because at first it was a shadow and I'm like, oh, I kind of sat up and had to check that out. But it'll just be interesting how, Negan and his relationship, because they were together at one point, and then what would make him, unless they left him for dead, unless Negan left him for dead somewhere, and it would have possibly to be, right? Because
we didn't see him. I mean, we never saw him since we've known Negan.
Right. So much is happening in all of this, and there's so many possibilities. And so do you have thoughts on the outcomes and the potential impact of the overall story arc on this?
No, somebody else had asked me that, and I'm like, I just don't know where this is going. People, they're like, obviously, you hope Herschel gets rescued. Someone was like, oh, I bet Herschel dies. Like, they're not going to kill Herschel. Yeah. They won't do that to Maggie, right?
No,
they're not going to, I don't think they're going to kill him. But yeah, I just, obviously the main thing will be to take out the Croat. I don't know how big his group is. They are going to find, we saw some other people that are going to be allies with them at some point. So, right. Again, we don't know how many of them, there are to know whatever, so it's, I don't know where this is going. I'm really curious to see, besides rescuing him, there's got to be some big altercation with Negan and the Croat. Obviously, there's going to be something there, which Jeffrey Dean Morgan had alluded at one time to something about Negan and his old behaviors. So I wonder if the Croat is going to bring out some of his old Negan, like they team up again. I don't know, what happens, but he's, he said something about Negan reverting to some of his old behaviors. So it'll be interesting to see how far he goes and what that means.
Right.
Yeah. But yeah, like an end game for this story. I don't even know what to think is going to happen because we got Maggie's new community. So I don't know what's happening there. You got New Babylon, which is another community. And their marshals and their law and their whatever, which I think is separate from Maggie's group, is what the way I'm getting this there, because she was trying to keep, Negan away from that and everything. So they're separate. And then you have all this going on in Manhattan. yeah. It's just very difficult to know.
Exactly.
I just don't have a guess.
Well, and also we're in unfamiliar territory. We haven't been here. Mm-hmm. So I think if it had been in The Walking Dead or Fear the Walking Dead, we can at least a little bit gauge what can happen depending on their environment. But this is also brand new people, except for the two that we know. So all we can really guess is the people that we know, I think. And for me, thinking about it, and I had mentioned this earlier about Negan and Maggie and how their story arc will move forward. And I can't help but think that unless something happens and Negan does his old ways, that Maggie's has to soften in some way her feeling toward him, because it's easier to vilify people that you aren't around and that you don't see. But when you see them and they are helping you, how do you continue to hate them or despise them? And I think she had said, in the Walking Dead finale, she had said to him, I don't want my son to see me carrying this basically hate that I have.
Yeah.
That it rules my life. I want him to know that there's more than that. So it makes me wonder about the shift maybe in how she might see him as a person. Maybe she'll see him more as a person, and also this is really little, but it's still there. When they were walking around when they first got there, and he says, Maggie, hold up, or whatever. She stops. He says, oh, that's a trap. I mean, he's protecting her. He's telling her not to get caught. So when people are doing that for you, you can't help but be impacted by that. So I keep thinking that just being around him, it's going to shift her perspective on him, and also, his perspective on her also. I think it'll be interesting to see how they progress with each other. And made me wonder about the Marshal and his sort of fixation on Negan, that he's willing even to go to New York to capture him. So it just makes me wonder his motives. Like, why is he so dead set? Why is it so important for him to get Negan? And I just think something will come out about that. Because of course, yeah, you have a job and you're trying to do it, but why? Why are you willing to cross over into New York to find him and bring him back? And you're willing to lose that other marshal and the junior marshal. Like, it doesn't matter to you. You want to do this. Plus, he's there to find whoever he needs to find there. But anyway, I'm just very intrigued by these people. And,
there's so many pieces.
Yeah. And also that group of people that we are just seeing little glimpses of. I'm sure they will be allies, but we saw that one lady kind of with wild hair.
And she blew the match.
Yeah. I can't wait.
And I think, on the trailer, I think there was something like, oh, you want to find him or something in there, like, we can help you with that. So I feel like they will be allies because I think they said something to Maggie, or it looked like they were talking to Maggie and Negan about helping them with something, or they will find some people there. And then one thing we didn't even touch on was, where is Annie and the baby? And he totally, when she asked him that, he totally ignored it. Obviously something's happened or he'd be with them,
right.
But what happened? So yeah, because even after the 1 year time jump, she would have had, that baby would have been born by then. And, in The Walking Dead, and we they didn't say anything. So yeah, I would like to know that story.
Yes, they didn't tell us at all.
Yeah.
Okay. So there are 6 episodes, right?
Yes.
Okay.
But they're saying they were supposed to start filming the second season at the end of the year, but with the writer's strike, I don't know when that'll happen now. So
right. True.
And Lauren Cohen, she's ready to do 5 seasons, she said. So I told her.
So she had a lot of fun. That's good. Good to know.
So at least we know that there'll be hopefully at least a season 2. But I don't know.
Okay. Do you have any predictions, any theories, anything else you want to bring up?
You had said something about that. I thought I read about like the shipping of Negan and Maggie. I hate that so bad.
Me too.
And I understand it's the chemistry between them because they, Jeffrey Dean Morgan and Lauren Cohen are so good together. But come on, people. Yeah. We don't always have to ship people. It's just,
Right.
So, yeah, I just think it's ridiculous. But yeah, it is a joke on our podcast. We always joke about it. They talk about the hate bang and everything that is going to happen, And
oh my gosh, I know, because I saw it out there and I thought, it better not happen. I think I even responded to Twitter. I'm like, okay, haha, cute, but no, I don't think so.
Just silly.
Yeah.
So anyway.
Yeah. For me, I'm just looking forward to this whole new landscape. I think I heard on the trailer something about the arena. And of course, we're going to see some tunnels. And I just think there's so much more to explore. I think it's a really good environment. I think Herschel, I just want to say really quickly, Herschel was such a brave kid. So I like that about him. I like, he's a little bit, we don't know too much about him, but I like him. Mm-hmm. He's tied up right now. So we'll see what he can do when he's not tied up, because I'm sure his mother must have shown him some skills. So we'll have to see.
Yeah, that. I'm sure he's got some skills. He's got it.
And also Ginny, where are we going to see her again? They introduced her.
Yeah.
Just makes me wonder. I don't know, because more, I was going to say Morgan, Negan. Mm-hmm.
I think we will, because she's been featured in a lot of, like, when they were doing all the publicity photos and everything, she's featured in all the photos with Gaius Charles and Jelko Ivanek and everything like that. So I think she will play another, you know what I mean? Like, and the gal who, when Maggie dropped her off at the Brits or whatever, the gal that got her, that's Nina. And I know she has a bigger part because she's another one that I was able to interview. And so I know she has a bigger part coming up. So I think we'll see more of Jenny as well. And hopefully we hear some more of her story, because it was very vague what Negan told us.
Oh my gosh. I'm so glad that you interview these people and can give us insight. That's amazing. At least to what, I know they can't say very much, but at least you get an idea of who we might see if they say, if they're highlighted in some way. All right. So I would love to know, we have a segment called And the Award Goes To, and I would love to know what was your favorite quote, character, or moment in this episode?
I just think Negan and his Neganisms, I'm glad to see they kept that because he's just so entertaining with these stupid things he says. They're a lot of times they're just corny, but they lighten the mood. They're so, I don't know. I just love them, so I just think that he did such a great job in inserting those, throughout the episode. And so I think, I think it's just Negan and his Neganisms.
Yeah. What would it be without those? I was going to say, it's funny because there were so many things that I did enjoy about this episode. And I tend to pick the emotional points, but I would say for me, when Maggie was fighting with the marshal and with her being her badass self. And I love seeing that. When somebody can fight, I love it. So here's this man that is on you and choking you. And of course, she tries to use her boot knife, and that didn't work this time because he got his leg and put it on hers, which kind of scares me, just the idea of a man being, able to overpower a woman. But she does eventually rip something on her necklace off and is able to swipe at him and get him off her. But when she does have the upper hand, I think she was about to bash his head in, and she looks up at Negan and she stops herself. And I thought, at first I didn't think too much of it, but the second time I thought, it's what he said to you, because he had mentioned that he has a family and daughters. So I thought, this struck a chord with you, Maggie. So see, we see her changing already, being impacted already. So that was a good moment, I thought. Oh my gosh, this has been such a great conversation on the Walking Dead universe. Thank you for joining me in talking about this whole universe.
Thank you for having me.
I would love to move into our TV and movie recommendations and ask you if you have any TV or movies to recommend.
Right now, I was thinking, I haven't watched many movies lately. We've been really watching a lot of just series and things. And so I've been watching FireFly Lane. I'm late to the show on that one because that's been out for a while, but I just started it not too long ago. Well, I guess maybe I started season 2 already. I don't remember. But anyway, I love it. I'm loving that on Netflix, FireFly Lane. I can't believe I haven't watched it before now, but I love it. Have you watched that one? I think it's on.
No.
I think it's on Hulu. So I never watched Lost, but what I know of Lost, it kind of reminds me of the premise of that. And one of the guys from Lost is actually in it, and it's a really good. Yeah, it's very good. It's kind of supernaturally and things. And I always hate saying too much, so I won't say much. But it's just people basically when they're traveling, they get stuck in this town and they can't get out. But there's all this other stuff that goes on. So it's very interesting, and it's in its second season. And then The Crowded Room, we started watching that on Apple TV. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And that one, so the first 3 episodes were really good. The fourth one was kind of slow, but I mean, I'm going to go ahead and keep watching now. I'm this far in. And then, The Bear season 2 comes out this week. So I'm excited. Did you watch the first season of that?
I didn't. No, I haven't. It has such good reviews and everything, but no, I haven't watched it.
And John Bernthal has a cameo in it. So so that was fun.
He's
so
good.
I know.
Good.
But it's just, this restaurant and the chefs and all this kind of stuff, but it's very fast paced. And the episodes are really short, but it's very good. It's one of those ones we just kept clicking next kind of thing.
So when my son first watched that, when it first came out, I think him and his girlfriend, they said, that's exhausting. The very first couple of episodes. And so they liked it, but they said it's really exhausting. I'm like, I don't need an exhausting show. I think at the moment I thought that, right? But then now it's getting all this attention. So now it makes me want to watch it, but there's so much out there.
I know.
I can't keep up. There's so much. And I watch a lot of things. And so I watched FireFly Lane. I really enjoyed that. And I'm watching The Crowded Room, and it has been slow for me. So it hasn't been my favorite. The only reason I'm hanging in is because of the actors in it. So it makes me want to, but it hasn't really sucked me in. I'm watching Succession because I didn't watch it originally, and I just am only on season 1. And my other son watched Manifest and has talked about that. So now all of a sudden I'm binging Manifest. I'm on season 2 now. So I'm watching those 2, even though I'm late to the party on both of those. But the new thing that I watched is Extraction 2, which is on Netflix. I had seen the original. It's with Chris Hemsworth. And I really enjoyed the first one. I couldn't remember everything that happened, but I just remember my feeling from that was that it was good. Mm-hmm. Watch this one. If anyone is okay with violence and action packed, then you'll like this. I thought it was really good, but you have to be okay with violence because it's non-stop action. And there's this one scene that's 21 minutes long. It's a continuous shot. I don't know how they did it. It's so well done. And it's to be applauded. I love when they can do things like that. It almost made me feel like I was in a video game. Mm-hmm. And then after I said that, because I said it out loud to my husband as we were watching, I said, I feel like I'm in a video game. I had read just today because I went back to look it up, and it said someone else had that same, thought. So, if you like that, then check it out. He's a Black Ops mercenary and he's out to extract somebody else. So
yeah, we enjoyed the first one a lot. So yeah, I was excited to see that one had came out. So we'll have to watch that.
Yeah. So I would say it's, in remembering what I remember in the first one, it's the same. It's not like, it went downhill or anything like that. So I would say, because sometimes the second, you just never know. But I think because it had been a success for Netflix, I think that they probably put their money back into the second one. So I thought it was good. Thank you, Renee, for joining me today. I can't even tell you how happy I am that you joined me.
Well, I just have enjoyed it so much.
Yes, I loved all your insight and I love your recommendations too. So I hope you will come back again.
Absolutely.
All right. That's our show. Thanks for tuning in. We are grateful you tuned in, and we hope something that we said today resonated with you, gave you a chuckle, some happiness, some positivity, or inspiration. Please subscribe to our website, screensinfocus.com, and tell a friend. We would love more members of our TV club. Next episode will be on Mayans MC Season 5, and you can check out my weekly Facebook Lives on what to watch this week. You can find that all on my website listed in our show notes. We'll see you next time. Bye. Bye.